Saraswat Tanveer Asif ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಸರ್ಟಿಫಿಕೇಟ್ ರ್ಯಾಂಕ್ 2016 ಬ್ಯಾಚ್ UPSC. ವಿ ಆರ್ ಗ್ರೇಟ್. ನಮ್ಮದೇ ಕನ್ನಡಿಗರು ಗ್ರೇಟ್ ಯಾಕಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ UPSC 25ನೇ ರ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಪಡೆಯೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಇಸ್ ನಾಟ್ ಎ ಈಸಿ ಥಿಂಗ್. ಮತ್ತು ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಸರ್ ವೀಡಿಯೋಸನ್ನು ನಾನು ಗಮನಿಸಿದ್ದೇನೆ. ಈಸ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ಫ್ರಮ್ ಕಾಮನ್ ಫ್ಯಾಮಿಲಿ. ನಾವು ತುಂಬ ಇದು ಮಿಡ್ಲ್ ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ ಕುಟುಂಬದಿಂದ ಬಂದಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥವ್ರು. ನಮ್ಮ ನಿಮ್ಮಂತೆ ಅವ್ರಿಗೂ ಸಹ ಫೈನಾನ್ಷಿಯಲ್ ಸ್ಟ್ರಗಲ್ಸ್ ಇತ್ತು, ನಮ್ಮ ನಿಮ್ಮಂತೆ ಗೊಂದಲ ಇತ್ತು. ಸಣ್ಣ ಮಾತುಗಳೇ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೆ ನಾನು. ಅವರು ಏನು ವಿಡಿಯೋದಲ್ಲಿ ಹೇಳಿದಾರೋ ಅವ್ರ ಮಾತುಗಳನ್ನೇ ಹೇಳ್ತೇನೆ. ನೀವು ಇಂಟ್ರೂ ಸರ್ TV ಇಂಟ್ರೂ ಕೊಟ್ಟಾಗ ನೀವು ಮಾತುಗಳು ಹೇಳಿದ್ದೀನಿ. ಅವರು ಗೊಂದಲ ಇತ್ತು, ಏನು ಮಾಡಬೇಕು, ಹೇಗಿತ್ತು, ನಿಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವ ರೀತಿ ಗೊಂದಲಗಳಿದೆಯೋ ನನಗೂ ಸಹ ರೀತಿ ಇತ್ತು. ಆದರೆ ಡಿಟರ್ಮಿನೇಷನ್ ಅಂದರೆ ನಾನು ಇದೇ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು, ಹೀಗೆ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು, ಹೀಗೆ ಓದಬೇಕಂತ ಡಿಟರ್ಮಿನೇಷನ್ ಇತ್ತು. ನನಗೆ ಸರ್ ಒಂದು ಬ್ಯೂಟಿಫುಲ್ ಆದಂಥ ಒಂದು ಇದನ್ನು ಹೇಳಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಅದು ಭಾಳ ಇಷ್ಟ ಆಯ್ತು. ಏನಪ್ಪ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಕೋಚಿಂಗ್ ಇಸ್ ನಾಟ್ ನೀಡೆಡ್. ಕೋಚಿಂಗು ಅವಶ್ಯಕತೆ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಅಂದರೆ ನಮಗೇನಪ್ಪ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ನಾವು ಏನು ಓದಬೇಕಂತ ನಾವು ಗೊತ್ತಾದರೆ ಸಾಕು, ಅಷ್ಟು ತಿಳ್ಕೊಂಡ್ರೆ ಸಾಕು. ಲಕ್ಷಾಂತರ ರೂಪಾಯಿ ನಾವು ಡೆಲ್ಲಿಗೆ ಹೋಗಿ ಕೋಚಿಂಗ್ ತೊಗೋಬೇಕು, ಬಾಂಬೆಗೆ ಹೋಗಿ ತೊಗೋಬೇಕು, ಚೆನ್ನೈಗೆ ಹೋಗಿ ತೊಗೋಬೇಕು ಅಂತೇಳಿಲ್ಲ. ನಾವು ಎಲ್ಲಿದ್ದರೋ ಅಲ್ಲೇ ನಮಗೆ ಸಾಕಷ್ಟು ದ್ರೋಣಾಚಾರ್ಯರಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ಸಾಕಷ್ಟು ಅರ್ಜುನ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ, ಸಾಕಷ್ಟು ಜನ ನಿಮಗೆ ಮಾಹಿತಿ ಕೊಡ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥವ್ರು ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಆ ಮಾಹಿತಿ ಪಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ. ರಿಯಲಿ ಸರ್ ತುಂಬ ಆ ಒಂದು ನಮ್ಗೆ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಎಲ್ರಿಗೂ ಸಹ ಮಾಡಿ. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಇವತ್ತು ಸೆಕೆಂಡ್ ಟೈಮ್ ಇವತ್ತು ಹೇಗಾಗಿದೆಪ್ಪ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಒಂದು ಅಧಿಕಾರ ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ಪ್ರಾಪ್ತಿ ಆದ ಕೂಡಲೇ ನಮ್ಮ ಆ ಬ್ಯಾಚನ್ನು ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದೆ. ಐ ಆಮ್ ವೆರಿ ಹ್ಯಾಪಿ ಸರ್. ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಟೈಮ್ ಬಂದು ನಾನೇ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಕಾಂಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡೋಕ್ಕಾಗಲಿಲ್ಲ. ಸೆಕೆಂಡ್ ಟೈಮ್ ನಮ್ಮ ವೆಬ್ಸೈಟ್ ಸರ್ಚ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಅವರೇ ಫೋನ್ ನಂಬರ್ ತಗೊಂಡು ಮತ್ತೆ ನಾನು ಬರ್ತೀನಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ರಿಯಲಿ ಗ್ರೇಟ್. ನಮ್ಗೆ ಇಂಥ ಈಸ್ ಇನ್ಸ್ಪೈರಿಂಗ್ ಯು. ಮತ್ತು ನಾನು ಸಂಸ್ಥೆ ಪರವಾಗಿ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಅಭಿನಂದನೆ ಸಲ್ಲಿಸ್ತೇನೆ. ಸರ್ ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು ಸರ್.
ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು ರವಿ ಅವರೇ. ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಕೇಳಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದೆಯಲ್ಲ? ಎಷ್ಟು ಜನ ಹೊಸದಾಗಿ ಬಂದಿದ್ದೀರಿ? ಆದರೆ ನಿಯರ್ಲಿ 75%. ಹಳೆಯವರು? ಓಕೆ, ಕರೆಕ್ಟ್. So those people who have heard me last time, they have come just to see, or the course is over, right, for you? ಮತ್ತೆ ಏನು ಕಂಟಿನ್ಯೂ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀರಾ ಅಥವಾ ಲಾಸ್ಟ್ ದಿನ ಅಥವಾ ಕಂಟಿನ್ಯೂ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀರಿ ಈ ಬ್ಯಾಚಲ್ಲಿ? ಸೊ ಈ ದಿನ ಆದ್ಮೇಲೆ ನೀವು ಹೋಗ್ಬಿಡ್ತೀರಿ. ಓಕೆ ಓಕೆ. ಸೊ ಫೈನ್. What is that you expect? I mean, last time I spoke a lot. It will be repetition for some of you. I had actually talked on 4 things. No, that is okay. This is the tests: belief, study circle. Okay. And what was one more thing? Any of you remember? That's correct. See, in my first attempt, these were the 4 reasons why I couldn't clear the examination. ನಾನು ಫಸ್ಟ್ನೇ ಅಟೆಂಪ್ಟ್ ಕೊಡುವಾಗ ಬರೀ 5-6 ಟೆಸ್ಟ್ನ ಸಾಲ್ವ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೆ. ಓಕೆ. ಮತ್ತು ಒಂಟಿಯಾಗಿ ನಾನು ಪ್ರಿಪರೇಷನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೆ. ಐ ವಾಸ್ ನಾಟ್ ಇನ್ ಅ ಸ್ಟಡಿ ಸರ್ಕಲ್. ದಟ್ಸ್ ವೆರಿ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್. ಐ ವಿಲ್ ಟೆಲ್ ಯು, ಐ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಟೋಲ್ಡ್ ಲಾಸ್ಟ್ ಟೈಮ್ why it is very important. Because when you study in a study circle, there are set of things which you get. Much earlier than you, or leaving the library much later than you, or someone who happens to be very committed, very dedicated. After seeing that person, you get motivated, and that's how study circle inspires belief that if that person can, I too can. And apart from that, a study circle is a right place. It has, it has to have a library and a set of friends you can talk with, or a group of library going aspirants who you find there. Because when you talk with them, one, you get belief, and the second thing is, it's a right place. People may ask, what's the right way of managing time? I said, it is the right way of managing space. You manage the space, that's what you get from the study circle and library. And then in my first attempt, I had relatively ignored current affairs. And as you see, the questions in prelims, more often than not every year, they come from current affairs or they are linked to current affairs. But a static portion in the question, even KPSC you noted ಅದು ಲಿಂಕ್ ಆಗಿ ಕ್ಲಬ್ ಆಗಿ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಗಳನ್ನು ಕೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಸೊ ಇಟ್ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ಟೂ ಎಂಬೆಲಿಶ್ಡ್. ಐ ಮೀನ್ ಕರೆಂಟ್ ಅಫೇರ್ಸ್ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ಪುಟ್ ಇನ್ ದ ಸ್ಟೇಟಿಕ್ ಪಾರ್ಟ್, ಆ ಥರ ಕೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಸೊ ಕರೆಂಟ್ ಅಫೇರ್ಸ್ ನಾನು ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಗಮನ ಇಟ್ಟಿಲ್ಲ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಅಟೆಂಪ್ಟಲ್ಲಿ. ಸೊ ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಆಫ್ ದ್ಯಾಟ್ ಐ ವಾಸ್ really I really went bad in current affairs part. The questions that came, I couldn't solve them properly. Fine. And then the number of tests I've told us, I think I had solved 6 to 8 tests only. In my second attempt, what I did was, this was like I had solved 70 or more than 80 tests. This belief I will tell. Study circle, yes, I studied in a study circle called as HEC. Current affairs, yes, I read Vision IRS regularly and the Hindu. Okay. And that was very regular, and I used to solve questions on current affairs in different websites, and also in the comprehensive test that we get. Okay. Belief. It will be a repetition for those. Actually, I am summarizing a lot of things which I had told last time. After that, I will leave the floor open for your questions. Belief, you see, the only or the sole reason as to why someone clears the exam or do not clear the exam is precisely because of that. How many of you have the belief that you will clear the exam? All of you, right? How many of you have woken up and saw the sunrise today? Few of you yesterday. So it's nearly that 20%. And I'm not asking you to wake up early, because during the preparation, neither did I wake up early. How many of you today or yesterday? How many of you have decided your options? Quite a large number, right? How many of you are confident that if you give your prelims right now, you will clear the exam? How many of you are confident that you can be All India Rank 1? So you see, there are these doubts that are going through your mind. A lot of doubts. Whirlpool. Can I do? ಇದು ಸಾಧ್ಯ ಅಥವಾ ಅಸಾಧ್ಯವಾಗಿದೆ ಅಂತ ನಿಮ್ಮ ತಲೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ ಬರ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. The only ingredient that you would need for answering all those questions in affirmative for your advantage is that you should have belief in yourself when you move out of this room or to the examination hall. I have seen numerous people, even to this day, more brighter, more knowledgeable, more sharper than me, but they have not cleared the examination. Now I am not making a case that I am greater than them or more successful than them. I am making a simple claim that there is something that this exam demands, which one should have, regardless of how bright you are or how successful you are, to clear this examination. And that is the confidence that comes from belief. How many of you think that your neighbor is more brighter than you? How many of you think that you have more to gain from your neighbor than yourself? How many of you think that you are more brighter than your neighbors? See, this is not selfish or blatant arrogance. This is self-confidence. Self-confidence is not when you compare yourself with others. It is when you compare yourself with Your own self. You do not know your neighbor. Of all those of you who thought that you are better than your neighbor, you simply do not know yourself. How can you even know your neighbor? That's actually a wrong assessment of yourself. You can only compare yourself with your own self of what you were yesterday. How many of you are better than what you were yesterday? How many of you want to be better than what you are today? All of you. All of you. That's the rightful comparison, and that's when you get belief in yourself. You do not become great by dwarfing the people around you. That's the way of dictators. You become great by making the people around you great. Because when you stand in a company of great, people will look up to you as the greatest. And there is this divine joy in letting people climb, realizing that you are at the peak, wherein you didn't want at one moment to be there. Now I'm not trying to be Gandhian or too much of a person who is like not having self-worth or not wanting anything for herself or oneself. Too much of philosophy, right? This is what is the most important ingredient towards your success. Having the belief in yourself. That your person, having that flesh and bones, having that mind and words, sitting on the chairs you are sitting, that can clear this examination or any other examination and come up with flying colors. So this was the summary of what I talked with them, apart from telling them what books to read, what books not to read, how to select the optional, what are the set of things that you have to consider before selecting the optional, how to solve the tests, how to read a book, what to avoid in a newspaper, what to see in a current affairs magazine. When you see the question paper in prelims or in mains, what to do first. What are the set of things that you have to do to fetch more marks. When you get the answer sheet, when you are actually writing the answers, what is the temperament and the state of mind that you should have? When should you start writing for your prelims, start writing tests for your prelims or preparing for your prelims? When should you have completed your mains preparation or your optional preparation? How much of weightage you should give for ethics and essay? I also talked about common sense, I guess, right? And I might have told that it's very important for you to have common sense. Because in this exam, everyone will have her or his strategy. What's your favorite food? Fruit. Butterfruit. What's your favorite fruit? Mango. Guava. What's your favorite fruit? Apple. Is it same? Where did you grow from? What's your native?
Mysore.
Yours? Yours?
Mysore.
In Mysore? And yours?
Bashun.
Are they same? What is your age? What's your age?
23.
And what's your age?
25.
Is it same? It may all seem very nonsensical for you, very trivial for you. This guy comes and asks such simple things. But this is to prove to you and tell to you that your conditioning has all been different. Neither did you study from the same school, nor did you come from the same background. You're all different. And everyone will have a different strategy. I will have a different strategy. The topper of the 2017 batch, 16 batch, 15 batch and whatnot will have different strategies because they are all different. Isn't it? In all that quagmire, in all those complexity, what will help you is having the confidence in yourself which is reinforced by belief and having the common sense to know what is good for you, to know what is better for you. How many of you think that you have common sense? tell me, which is the newspaper that you read? And why? Please be honest.
Everyone suggests.
Isn't it? How many of you have really applied mind and evaluated 2-3 papers which many of the toppers might have told you and then settled for the Hindu? Please raise your hands. Okay. I'm telling you that you ended up deciding to read the Hindu after, say, application of mind. After having gone through it. I'm not saying that you should read all the papers under the sky. Maybe the rudimentary set of things that you have to do to make it, to let you decide that it is good for you. How will you ever know that the English that a particular paper is using is good for you? The region that the paper comes from or caters to is good for you. It seems to confuse you, right? This person is confusing you. No, I'm not confusing you. I'm telling you the simple fact of all the little informations you get after talking to toppers or talking to people who know about things. You will be left with only 1 or 2 things, right? And you would be accepting or using things which will help you, which you think are useful, which you think are more better than others for you. This word "you" that I am using repeatedly is a result of your common sense. How many of you have selected your options? How many of you have gone through all the optionals in the syllabus copy? How many of you, after selecting the optional, have gone through past year's question papers before actually reading? Why are such few number of hands being raised? Is an answer that you will get by your common sense. Is there any worth in selecting an optional this attempt as geography, changing it next year to say a subject in literature and the following year to anthropology? Would it be a wise decision? There are people, my friend, who's done it. You? No. It is because we have simply ignored what is good for us. We have not applied our minds in thinking what is good for us, what would help us for our own betterment. That common sense was also something which I talked a lot about. Which book to read? History, 3 books. Which book to read? Don't you have a simple common sense to understand that something is good for you? Yes, all those, because one topper has used all those books and cleared, another topper has used all those books and cleared. So that means using those tools you can top the examination. And how that person was able to top the examination? Because he found out that it was good for him. People told read Lakshmikant. I read D Basu. Why? Because I have political science as my optional. And I have to read D Basu and its chapter on fundamental rights and success-state relations are something which are awesome. That I figured out on myself. And each word that guy uses, Mr. Basu, is either a Supreme Court ruling or an article or a law, or his word itself will become a law in future. I don't know. Because he has applied that much mind while writing that book. So I used sentences from his book shamelessly and quoted that D Basu says so. And I have scored marks in my optional, and making a choice to read D Basu was not bad at all. Though I read Lakshmikant as well, because I'm as human as all of you. Before prelims you get this. So, making those choices are important. Okay, I will not confuse you more. Fine. Now I have told about the rubrics of the questions that you can ask. 5 minutes earlier I have told the areas on which you can, you have to focus. So now the floor is open for your question, lest I be called undemocratic. Please. I'm very friendly actually. If you want me to sit beside you and cater to your questions, I will listen to them and answer you. You know, more questions are welcome from the freshers. Yeah, you can ask. I'm not discouraging you. It will be like an ignition start for them. Please.
So while studying, I couldn't focus more. There's a lot of disturbance.
Yeah, focus. See, in exam, right? I'll tell you this. You may feel that this person has come, he has talked more of philosophy and walked out. And that anyone can do. But then, when you actually prepare for this examination, you will realize that the most essential things are your state of mind to fool you away. I'm not trying to do that. That strategy, that books, everything you get online. You get online. How many of you think that you can't get those things online? How many of you think that you can't get whatever I'm speaking online? I have already said all those things what I would say now. Isn't it? Why waste so much of energy coming from your home, sitting here and listening to some food? There's no worth in it. Focus again is a very important area. Any questions related to that? How many of you think that you are not having focus? How many of you? That's very moderate actually. More hands should be raised on that questions. How many of you think you do not have the focus that you should have? How many of you are satisfied with your reading ability, with your comprehension? Satisfied? How many of you are not satisfied? Sometimes, yeah, obviously. So sometimes you are very active and very focused when you have a lighter meal. That's correct. Focus. Now, what is there in focus? Everyone close your eyes. Sit straight. Now please come. And all the noises around you. The person who will tell me the most number of noises is having the highest focus. The scratch of brakes, or to the ticking clock, or the moving air, or the movement of fan, the barking dog, your own breath, your heartbeat, even the words and sounds that your stomach is making, or a beep sound that you get, or someone speaking in front of you. Let the thoughts flow and capture as many words, sounds and noises you can. Now look inwards. Concentrate only and only on your breath. Nothing else, just your breath. Your heartbeat now. The weight of your body as it pushes down. Now open your eyes. Who of you notice more than 20 noises? $15, 10, 7, 5. That's done, right? So more than 10 and 7. There are actually much more than 20 noises. Much more than 20 noises. So what was the point that I made here? Focus is about knowing all your distractions, including your breath and your heartbeat, the pace of it, the flow of it, and then knowing where you have to concentrate. This exercise you do for on and on and on and on, you will gain more focus. That would be too much of philosophy. And how does it help for UPSC? It helps in UPSC this way. When you know all the distractions around you and know that what of them are unwanted and useless, is the first step in staying more focused. Then try to eliminate one by one. Noises can be avoided by closing your room. And focus is always centered. Right? It's not. And for that to happen, the lateral should be clean. The area around you should be clean. Because the ambience, you see, when it is structured, when there is only book and nothing else other than the book, your mind knows where to look and where not to. Focus is all about eliminating the distractions. And that you only know by knowing them all. Remove the unnecessary ones, hardly you can't get rid of. But the unnecessary ones you can get rid of. More importantly, you can never have focus unless you have told to yourself that you are doing justice with yourself. All that financial insecurities, emotional insecurities, or insecurities of relationships, or the insecurities related to your inability to read more, first understand them. Know what are useless and know what are worthwhile. Those things which are worthwhile, try to constructively move them in the area of your focus zone, and those distractions, try to make them go out of that zone of focus. So this is all I can tell about focus. And focus also comes when you are in a library. Tell me how many of you are more focused in library than in your homes? Some of you may not be more focused in libraries. That's also true. Because all of you are not sane. And all of you are not me. Some people are, how many of you are more focused in homes than in library? There's never a golden rule actually. When I use a word, you can always replace that word with something else. All I mean is the essence should be translated. Okay? So that's how I tried to enlist all my distractions. I used to tell my mom, whenever my mom used to call and tell me this and this problem is there, I used to tell mom, how can I sitting here in Delhi solve that problem? It was painful. I lost my nephew. I couldn't go because I was not told about the loss of my nephew. Those are rough times. But then I told to myself, how can I reduce the pain by being there? If I go start helping my family in whatever areas they want, financially, emotionally, or all those things, I will miss out on something. On what? On why I had been there to prepare for these things. I told to myself, I have belief in me. I have used sufficient of their resources. Being here, I cannot help them. So what I have? Tell me what I have. Is only one opportunity. It's only one opportunity. Otherwise, you are simply doing injustice to them. So be it. That last opportunity, kill yourself. But do not ever make yourself a hypocrite. When your family needed, you didn't go. It can only happen when you have been honest, just and truthful with yourself, your time, your energies, and the energies of your parents and friends, and those who matter. Then nothing. Okay? When you have many things, you go by in that circle. How many people have cleared prelims, or how many have cleared mains? How many of them have already into service? Such a circle would be very promising, right? I stayed in one actually. I was fortunate enough to stay in one. In that study circle, I remember there were many of them who were repeating the exam after being in the service. Insights that you have in Bangalore, there also you have a lot of people who are already into service and would like to take exam. That's also a study circle, isn't it? They have a library. And they also will help you with accommodation, I guess, right? If they're not helping, Bangalore is all ours. We can go join. A study circle should have these three things: test series, a library to study, and a group of people. A group of qualified people. If there are no qualified people, assume they are. Because you never know, yeah. Such care. When you write the examination, you may counsel him, okay, you do this, do not do that. You may end up seeing that he has cleared the examination before you. It can all happen. It can all happen. I have a friend. When I first went there, he was like, dude, why should not be reading this, dude? And then I was like, yes, I know. I'm reading the new NCRTs. I know I'm doing that. And then that very attempt, and many times, you shouldn't be joining this test series. This is all bakwas. You join this, join that. I was like, yeah, I found it feasible, and it is the cheapest that I can find. And then at the end of the day, I cleared the examination. He couldn't clear prelims. Now I'm not saying that he was less great or I am more great. What I am trying to tell you is that he cannot assume that I am less worthy. He cannot assume because he doesn't know me. How many of you know yourself? Please be honest. Very few of us know who we are. What are our strengths? What do we like? What do we dislike? What is the best time for us? Your body knows it, but not you. I'll repeat it. Your body knows you. Your subconscious knows it, but not you. Because when is the last time that you pondered about yourself, sat and just thought about yourself as to what you're doing, what you're eating, what is good, what is bad, what are you looking up to? When was the last time that you thought about it? Before entering here. How many of you think that you have not thought about it since last week? All of you have thought. All of you pondered as to what's good for you, what are you and what is needed, what is to be needed, and all those things. Good. I'm actually proud to be here. And I'm serious. That's actually very difficult to do. Now the answer to the question was how to decide study circles, right? That is a criteria. Should have a good library, should have people studying there, and food facility, and if you have hostel facility, awesome, nothing but. And if you have something to run on, a ground, marvelous. Because exercise is very important, very important. Why is it important? It becomes cliche, it becomes too truist to tell that exercise is important for you. I am 78 or 79 now. Before writing my mains, I was 66. Not because I was on a mission to reduce my weight, but because I was careful as to what's going into my body. And I was careful as to what I am doing with my body. I used to play basketball every day, for an hour or so. Believe me, I wasn't any sharp than when I had done the exercise. It's very important. Okay. Questions? You're not asking the relevant questions. More relevant ones. For those who are new. You know all what to be read? Which books are to be read? How many of you know what books to be read? No? Then why is not asking? You know what will happen to you when you walk out of this training? How many of you know? How many of you have planned? How many of you have eyed on this examination? How many of you have eyed on the next year's examination? What's happening with you? What's going to happen with you? Scary, right? No, it's not. From this day, take an oath that you will sit and first thank your mom for giving you birth and your father, and then let your mind think for yourself. Think for yourself as to what is good for you and what is bad for you. Do not let others influence you to decide when you do not apply your mind. Let them influence when you apply your mind. But do not let them influence you when you do not apply. Okay? So ask me questions, otherwise I'll be just telling you what I have told by this time. And if you're liking it, just that will go on and on and on and on. You will be not left with useful information.
How did you cover the current affairs apart from Hindu as well as?
Yeah. More questions. It will be inspiring actually. More questions.
Is the optimum period for preparation?
What is the optimum period for preparation? More questions.
Selecting option.
More.
Decision.
Decision? ಯಾವುದು decision?
UPSC ಮಲ್ಟಿಪಲ್ ಡೈಮೆನ್ಷನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ
MCQ ಸಾಲ್ವ್ ಮಾಡುವಾಗ
ಅಲ್ಲ ಸರ್ ಎಲ್ಲದರಲ್ಲೂ ಈಗ ಏನಾದರೂ ಸಿಚುವೇಶನ್ ಬರುತ್ತೆ ಆ ಪರ್ಟಿಕ್ಯುಲರ್ ಟೈಮ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಯಾವ ರೀತಿ
decision making generally. Actually, that's a very big question. I don't know as of now if I am a good decision maker. Okay, more questions?
It looks like all are important.
It looks all are important. You are very true. Everything under the sun looks important. More questions? From this side?
Making notes.
Actually an incomplete question. How to make notes? Or how to make short notes? How to make smart notes? What is your question? Different ways of making notes? Is that not your
Ideal way of making notes.
ideal way of making notes? Nice. More? Or let me settle for that first?
Excuse me, sir.
Please.
As an individual, I feel I'm good at writing this essay type questions, but not in answering the prelims like
Did
option.
anyone tell that it is proscribed? Prohibited?
No, it's not that. Like on spot answering for 4 options, I feel difficult than writing some essay. So I can think and I can write in essay types, but not in certain prelims.
My friend, you know who Lamarck was? Lamarck. The use and disuse of organs. Lamarckian theory.
Yes.
And then came Baba Darwin. Remind me, can I answer that question? Any more? Because I club them and it will be very fruitful actually. You will like it, otherwise it will be very boring and just go on telling what I like, that is philosophy. You tell me, you put more questions, it will be like forthcoming, it will be like you want to listen from me. That will be a token of appreciation. From this side. More?
ಸರ್ ಆನ್ಸರ್ ರೈಟಿಂಗ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಮಲ್ಟಿಪಲ್ ಡೈಮೆನ್ಷನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಲಿಂಕ್ ಕೊಟ್ಟು ಬರೀಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ ಸರ್. ಬಟ್ ಆದರೆ ಟೈಮ್ ಒಂದು ತುಂಬಾ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಯಾವ ರೀತಿ ನಾವು ಬರೆಯೋದು ಸರ್? ಈಗ ಪರ್ಟಿಕ್ಯುಲರ್ ಆಗಿ ಕ್ವಾಲಿಟಿಲಿ ಕ್ವಶನ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಆ ಕ್ವಶನ್ಗೆ ನಾವು ಆನ್ಸರ್ ಮಾಡೋಕ್ಕೆ ಟೈಮ್ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ತಗೊಳುತ್ತೆ. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಯಾವ ರೀತಿ ಸರ್ ನಾವು ಇಂಟಿಗ್ರೇಟ್ ಮಾಡೋದು ಸಬ್ಜೆಕ್ಟ್ಸ್ನ?
Memorize everything. Everything is very open. Can we? More?
ಪ್ರಿಲಿಮ್ಸ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಮ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕ್ವಶನ್ ಅಟೆಂಡ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಈಗ ಒಂದು ಹಾಫ್ ಗೊತ್ತಿರುತ್ತೆ ಅದನ್ನ
ಹೌದು.
ಹೇಗೆ ಎಲಿಮಿನೇಟ್
ಹೌದಾ? ಓಕೆ.
Then is it mandatory that I must give my best in my first attempt itself? Why is
That's
that?
That's too cute a question actually. No, what I understood. We get bogged down, right? First attempt you have to do everything and then destroy the world and go away. Not the burden.
So,
Okay, I'll address that as well.
so what about the interview?
Last time I didn't talk about it, right? How many of you want me to begin with this? Very few of you. Because we have our self-interest. I'm glad that you use your common sense.
ಸರ್ ನೀವು ಈಗ ಆಲ್ರೆಡಿ IAS ಕ್ಲಿಯರ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೀರಿ ಸರ್. ಆದರೆ ಅಂದರೆ UPSC ಸೆಲೆಕ್ಷನ್ ಪ್ರೊಸೀಜರ್ ಇದೆಯಲ್ಲ, ಪ್ರಿಲಿಮ್ಸ್
ಅದು ಯಾವ
ಮೇನ್ಸ್ ಇಂಟರ್ವ್ಯೂ ಇದೆಯಲ್ಲ, ಆ್ಯಕ್ಚುಲಿ
ಯಾವ
UPSC ಅನ್ನೋದು ಏನನ್ನ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ?
Actually, this is a very important question. ಆದರೆ ನನಗೆ ಇರುವಷ್ಟು ಮಾಹಿತಿ ನಾನು ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಹೇಳ್ಬೋದು. ಅದರಿಂದ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ನನ್ನ ಕೈಯಿಂದ ಆಗಲ್ಲ. ಬಿಕಾಸ್ that's actually a very difficult question.
ಬಟ್ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ ಆಫ್ ವ್ಯೂ
ಹೇಳ್ತೀನಿ. Okay, I'll start with that. It's actually a good question. See, UPSC wants mediocre, average, commonsensical people. You got it right? You have got it right. UPSC doesn't want excellent or subject matter experts because decision making is not that. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಬಿಹಾರಿಂದ ಬಂದು HD ಕೋಟೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ತಹಶೀಲ್ದಾರ್ ಆಗಿ ಒಂದು ತಿಂಗಳ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡುವಾಗ no book of law will come to your rescue. No book of law will come to your rescue. It's only the common sense. It's only the common sense and that dexterity which will help you. Now UPSC what it wants is, see, it wants such people and it has its criteria. It is trying to eliminate those of you who are bad at guessing or who are bad at eliminating and who are bad at what? Who are bad at? Self-confidence or that belief. Otherwise, how would you explain that out of the 10 to 12 lakhs people, only 5-6 lakhs people write the exam? What happens to the remaining 6 lakhs? And they have lost even before the battle began. It was a matter of belief, isn't it? And of those who have, those people who in the final moments, finally ended up writing the examination, were they worthy enough? No, they were not. UPSC is screening you out. And at the very first hurdle, you are screened out. Those of you who cannot think that you do not have the guts to take the examination, do not have the right to become an officer. Do not have a right. When you have prepared for the examination for 1 year and when the exam approaches, you simply get scared away. You should have the belief in yourself. No one has seen the next day. I do not know whether I'll live the next moment or not. I do not know whether an earthquake will destroy the 99% of my opponents. How will I know? I don't know. So why will you give up even before the gods have decided to screen you out? So that's the game that they're playing. 10 lakhs, 20 lakhs, huge number, afraid. They are screened out even before the screening. And then some people are into it. Some people come into it. And then, those are the people, mind you, those people who have read and are positively disposed to write the examination. Not more than 50% of those who write. दूर से पहाड़ बहुत बड़ा लगता है, दूरದಿಂದ ಬೆಟ್ಟ ತುಂಬಾ ದೊಡ್ಡದಾಗಿ ಕಾಣುತ್ತೆ. ಚಿಕ್ಕದಾಗಿ ಕಾಣುತ್ತೆ. ಓಕೆ, ದೂರದಿಂದ ಬೆಟ್ಟ ತುಂಬಾ ಚಿಕ್ಕದಾಗಿ ಕಾಣುತ್ತೆ. ಆದರೆ ಸಮಸ್ಯೆಗಳು there are too many. What was the purpose behind telling you that without knowing you aggrandize the opponent. You do not know the uncertainty, so you make it very big. You do not know actually how many of them are participating and preparing, right? There are fewer than half of those who write the examination. Now, of those who write, how many of them have belief that they will clear the prelims? No, of those people. You're good. It's good that you have confidence in yourself. Very few. The battle reduces down. Now, 1 lakh people who have the belief and who have prepared are writing the exam. How many of them will clear? 20,000? 1:5? The ratio is not all that bad, but it will look very bad. Okay. This is the strategy. Many of them are thrown out. Now, when they have screened prelims, they are using only to screen you out. They are using only to screen you out, isn't it? So do not be hunky-dory about it. They are preparing only for prelims and have not prepared for your optionals or for essay or for ethics or for GS, for mains, or have written test series. Do not do that mistake as well. Okay. As opposed to that, I will tell my strategy. Then comes mains. In mains, what are they expecting? There are subjective answers evaluated by different people all around the country, who the UPSC invites or sends your papers to, have different mindsets, don't they? Have different mindsets, and they come from different backgrounds. Now, no one can have a same strategy. Maybe there's a English literature guy sitting there who might have done his diploma in political science and checking the question paper or answer paper on political science. He would like prose. Some would not. But then what's there in your mind, and if you have translated that, there's no one to remove you or screen you out. Those people are coming from very different backgrounds. So yahi pe dekhiye. Look here only. Those people come from very different backgrounds. And what are we talking about this single strategy? Okay. Now, while they evaluate your question papers, they're not given a master copy as many of our exams they give. They're not given any master copy. They are given only a framework of note making or marking scheme का एक सबको for everyone there will be सामान्य वर्ग को कुछ पड़ता है. How to evaluate अंतर, marking how to evaluate and nothing more than that. What they like in your answers is about the question as to how to write answer writing. Fine. While you are writing the answer, last time also I have spoke about this. There will be this question. First, read the question. I'll tell you, while we see the book, we directly jump to the first word and then after 4 days end up with the last word. You think that's the way to read? No. First know where you are. Last year there were 10 mark questions and 15. Before that there were equal questions on equal markings. Last year what they did was 10 questions on 10 marks and 10 questions on 15 marks. Many people didn't even know that. Tell me, is it a good thing? Yes, stakes are very high. But why don't you train yourself? Even before you take the examination, always the one who understood the geography understands the history. First understand the geography of the paper. कि कहाँ पे कौन है? ಯಾವ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಬರ್ತಾ ಇದೆ? ಮತ್ತು ಎಷ್ಟು ಮಾರ್ಕ್ಸ್ ಅವರು ಕೊಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ? First understand that. First know that. And after knowing that, you read the question. And in that question, there will be few terms. And you have to understand that there are terms in the question. And there is a main theme in the question. And you have to write an answer on that. Okay? And then first define that in your own words. And I used to subsequently use, when I used to write answers, say example, fact number 1. Who prevents you to do that? No one prevents you to do that. So I used to do that. And then I used to cover the various key terms that you are using. Pros, cons or sub questions. Sometimes there are 1 question to questions, 3 questions in a single question in mains. You have seen that. How much of time you have to give to a particular subsection. And sometimes we don't even understand that one of the points he was using to just try to make you understand what was the previous point. You know, we end up writing on that also. We'll invent a new main theme in that and we'll write answer to that also. Tell me who will give you marks. Because they have a structure. They know what the question is. They know what the question is. So this is the foolish mistakes we do. First, we do not understand what's there, what to write or what not to write. In the optional papers, first question you have 10 markers, 5 questions, and fifth question number 5, 10 markers, 5 questions, and the rest of the questions are for 50 marks, 25, 15, 15. Isn't it? No. Correct. 25, 20, 15, 15. Huh? 20, 15, 15. So now, if you see, you spend more time attending many questions. Question number 1 and question number 5. So what I did was, I used to attend question number 3 questions from 3, 4, 5, 2, 3, 4 to 5, 6, 7, 8. 3 questions I could attempt, and then last I used to go through that. And I had known that by trying to knowing the geography of the paper, while practicing, knowing what's important for me and what's not important for me. Because it decides, single marks decides as to where you are. You can either be in the list or out of it. I got only 98 marks in ethics. The average is 110 and above for my batch. And believe me, ethics was an area on which I had really sweated out. Why did I do bad? Is one reason. While I was actually writing the paper, while I was practicing the answers, I was not able to finish the paper. Always 1 or 2 questions were left. So in that fear, ethics was the only paper in which I was not very confident that I would finish. I had the stated purpose of finishing every question. Okay? And I was not confident. I started writing so fast, in such horrible writing, though my handwriting is already horrible, in such horrible handwriting that I finished the paper 25 minutes before the slotted time. In ethics, that's not possible. You have to say, wow. Before I got marks. But then after I got marks, I got 98. And if I had got, say, 118 or 128, or if I had got 68, I wouldn't be standing here as a Mysore probation. Or I could have been the All India topper. Though I don't want to be a topper. Actually, a lot of limelight. You got the essence, right? So please do not make this foolish mistake. This is the most foolish mistake, even in prelims. You know, ನಾನು ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ ನೋಡಿದ್ದೆ ಆನ್ಸರ್ ಗೊತ್ತಿತ್ತು ಟಿಕ್ ಮಾಡುವಾಗ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಈ ತರ ಮಾಡಿದೆ. Doesn't happen. ಮೇನ್ಸ್ ಆನ್ಸರ್ಸ್ ಬರೆಯುವಾಗ ನನಗೆ ಈ ಆನ್ಸರ್ ನೋಡಿದಾಗಲೇ ನನಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಾಯಿತು ಏನು ಬರಬೇಕಂತ. ಆದರೆ I do not have time. There will be many questions on which you have many good points. ಆದರೆ we have not gone through it. Isn't it? So first go through and then try to understand what is important, what is not, and then you write all these facts and then give as many examples as possible. As many examples. Sometimes what happens is we think, hey, this is all, everyone knows it. Even then you write example, not used in which questions. Trying to apply them in real life. To make that out of current affairs. In mains, answers while you write, you will get to know while you start writing answers, nothing matters. Those 5 points which you know already are the savior. No one knows. You give me a question, I will be not knowing more than 2-3 points, but somehow I will score more marks. How? By playing with words and examples and figures and facts. Isn't it? Playing with it. No one will think that you will use that fact in that answer, but you have used it and scored the marks. That is better, or reading everything is better? You tell me. In this exam, the biggest mistake that people do is read until they have forgotten to write. And to know what is important in that, to know what is to be used and to be written. I had a friend, he had all this library and you name it, he has already read that book and he will tell the summary of that book. intelligent me, I used to always remember what the points he's telling. Every time I talked with him, I made note of it. And he was reading big books. He never wrote a test series. I wrote test series. And at the end of the day, I used his points in my answers and I scored 326 in marks. I'm not telling that I'm being selfish here. I was being tactful. I was being commonsensical. You have read everything that you have read, unless you have applied it, unless you have practiced it, unless you have let your body use those terms, you will not be able to write here. So this, when you use it, ಯಾವ ತರ ನೀವು ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ facts na ಅಥವಾ concepts na ಈ answers ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಬರಿಬಹುದು ಅಂತ. That you only get to know. You will not do it. In exam time, believe me, the hand knows only one thing, the work of donkey. And it knows that what mind is thinking. You can only link the mind with the hand if you have practiced. It's not a scholarship exam. It's not an exam for research or PhD thesis. It's not. You have no time to think there. The only time you have is the time that you lose by your hand not listening your mind is the time you waste. And that will happen if you have not written tests. While writing test, force examples, force facts. ಆ ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ಯಾವ ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ನ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಉಪಯೋಗ ಮಾಡಬಾರ್ದು ಅಂತ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಅಲ್ವಾ, ಅದನ್ನು ಅಲ್ಲೇ ಉಪಯೋಗ ಮಾಡಿ ನೋಡಿ ಯಾವ ತರ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. Try to bring it. Because a bone will, you put flesh everywhere and you make whatever people are wanting it to make. Tandoori maybe. So you have to use those facts in your answers, and that you get to know only when you write the answers. And that you have to do during the test. During the exam, it's just a mock. It's a rehearsal. It's the rehearsal. Please believe me, it's just a rehearsal. Okay? And then you have rehearsed in your mains exam. You write all the answers. Okay? You write all the answers. You have to always keep the window open. What happens is we work in silos. These 4 GS papers, these 2 optional, this essay are all different. We presume. But then it's not. Let GS cross-pollinate with mains, with optional. We let paper 1 cross-pollinate with paper 2 and vice versa and everywhere. Try to work with, you have made good notes in ethics. Your ethics ke liye, ethics ಆಗಿ ತುಂಬಾ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ನೋಟ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡಿಟ್ಟಿದ್ದೀರಿ. ಒಳ್ಳೆ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ಸ್ ಇದೆ, ಬೇರೆ ಕಡೆಯಿಂದ ನೀವು ಎಲ್ಲ ಕೇಳಿ ಬರೆದಿಟ್ಟಿದ್ದೀರಿ. ಆ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ಸ್ನ ಪೇಪರ್ 1 ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡಬಾರ್ದು ಅಂತ ಯಾರು ಹೇಳಿದ್ದಾರೆ? Why does the ethical list go away with the moment we start writing paper on history? And in Bipin Chandra, mind you, there are more than 50-60 good examples about ethics. Ahmedabad mill strike. Who was against Gandhi? His friend. Who was supporting Gandhi? Friend's sister. And in this, I will write 10 different answers using the same fact. Sometimes give example of Gandhi and tell what his friend sacrificed or sister sacrificed. Sometimes use sister and tell how she supported Gandhi. Because see, please don't laugh. That's all it is. It's very easy. This exam is very easy because it is made for mediocres like me. This is very easy because it's structured. You have a syllabus. And you have heard of common people from small villages clearing this exam. I couldn't have cleared IIT, I am being honest. But that doesn't mean that I cannot clear this examination. It's very easy for you. This syllabus is all known. The books that you have is to be all known. There are so many test series in the market. So many people instructing you, mentoring you, people like me coming and telling you. You have everything. You have your body, you have your mind, you have your parents, you have your friends, you have your beloved. What more do you want? The exam is very easy. Calm down. Okay? Now, while you have let the mind cross-pollinate, during the practice you have proved yourself. Now, it's only your hand listening to your mind, and they both know what to do. Fine? And then you write as many answers as possible. Do not leave a question. During the practice, make it a point to reduce and remove the useless flesh that we add to our bones. Prose, the biggest difficulty with prose is the adjectives. It's bad. It's horribly bad. It's so horribly bad that history has never known such an example. It's so horribly bad, and the adjectives go on and on and on and on. The description goes on and on and on and on. That's the problem. Know what is the important point that you have to use. Remove all else. In prose, if you have a real acumen with those answers, you will get all India rank 1. No one is there to prevent you with all those little points you have written. Because what that shows, it shows structure, it shows dynamism, it shows organized mind, it shows a lot of things. When I have written hundreds of points, what it shows? It shows clarity of mind, it shows width of my knowledge, it shows the creativity of drawing. Will be marked accordingly. But there are many fools also, right, checking the question paper. Biggest problem with writing prose is that when you have not understood the main theme, you have gone horribly bad. Leads to the other. In points, it doesn't happen that way. It's difficult to find out what you're trying to prove because you've given a heading, you've given multiple headings, pushed on multiple facts. You'll think, yeah, this is relevant to the answer. He will give you marks accordingly. Pros and cons are there. Tina Dad, she used to write so good prose answers. I think she used very few points. She got all the. It's for you to decide. Okay? Both works. Both works. And for people who do not have good prose, points always work. Right? Then you will write as many questions as possible. And while you are reading newspapers, I had told last time also, select one newspaper, read page number 1, skip state news, skip national news, unless you're preparing for KPSC. And even if you're preparing for KPSC, you don't need state news. If you don't give examples of state, they will not penalize you. Because you have already covered a lot of area. For that, if you are preparing for KPSC, you have to read it accordingly. Okay? You have to also cover that state news. Unless you are preparing for KPSC, reject or ignore the intervening pages. The first page and then editorial. In editorial you have 6 pieces. Page 1, page 2, here 2 articles, here 1, here comments, and then here 1 article, and then here 1 article. More or less, 6 articles, 6 articles you have. Who tells you to read all? Who tells you to read all? This is newspaper. These are magazines. Magazines like Yojana that you have to read, or Kurukshetra that some read. Unless you have your option as public administration, do not touch that magazine Kurukshetra. Sweeping statement. But please don't do that. Don't read Kurukshetra. Yojana. Yojana is an issue-based magazine. I'm linking Yojana with what I was trying to do. That's why I introduced Yojana. It's an issue-based magazine. And on education, there will be 20 articles. How many questions are you expecting on education? 1 or max some in a year where there was education policy or something like that, 2 questions. But average 1 question. How many points you need? 5. 5 points, and 5 out of your magnanimity, you know what to write, and you will get 5 marks. 5 good points is all you need. 5 good points that you have to remember is all you need. Fine. Then you use it. So Yojana, don't read all the articles. Even in your newspapers, why will you read all the articles? There will be many politically motivated articles. Then there will be this scholar, the person who has written this article. We know his views. He always tells only one thing. So we have to learn to eradicate or reduce them. What I used to do, I used to read newspaper but once in 15 days. Now I'm not telling you to read newspaper once in 15 days. That may not be a good strategy. But what I used to do was, I had something to contrast this article with that. I was very materialistic. These are 3 articles. What are the points? This looks kachra, cut it down, don't read. What do I tend to lose? I don't tend to lose anything. I don't tend to lose anything because whatever information I have got, I have put it here and I am using here and I am getting marks. Easy, right? While reading, it's very difficult. Because your friend has read 2 newspapers. How would you get rid of that temptation? And he is very bright. This issue, this policy, before that, some centuries ago, similar thing was there, and he's connecting with the ancient world. You do not know anything about it. So what happens is you get swayed. You get swayed. And in that temptation, I will make another point. In that temptation to do what he is doing, or in that temptation to do what everyone is doing, you lose yourself, your strategy. The same is true. Same is true with other things like reading a book. My friend told, read this NCERT, read this book, or read that NCERT, read old to old NCERT. I mean, there is old NCERT and there is old to old NCERT. My friend wanted to read me, let me read that also. I was like, no, it's not happening. So there are different ways. Okay, respect. You have to respect yourself, and then you have to reduce that. You have to contrast things against. Which is good and which is not good, which is useful, and then you have to have that your syllabus. How many of you know syllabus? GS ka, that indexing. How to make notes. From current affairs, if you are making notes, whenever you have come through a point, you have to write in that relevant section and then know where you are using it. And if you are using it multiple times, mention that you are using it multiple times. While you read it, you at least make your mind goes through it. You can use that also. And all that good points have come here, and you know where to use. Can be used in optional. Current affairs can be used in optional. So you have, during the preparation only you have written answers, and that's how you link different areas, because you have time at your disposal when you are reading. While reading only you write answers in your mind. If the question is asked, don't say this concept of justice. How will you start? In index, an author has used a lot of terms. Terms are different from words. Terms are specific words which have a specific meaning that the author wants to convey. And those terms are numbered. He also writes page number on that. Different page numbers, same concept, where all it has appeared. Now tell me, can you be more smart than that? Can you hire 4 or 5 people to do that menial job for you? Ashoka. There is the question on this. Have you ever wondered to see the chapter on Ashoka? Have you ever wondered to see the chapter, have you ever seen the word coin in the index section and tried to know what all is written? You will at least know if, say, iconography पे कोई question आ गया, or numismatics, or anything related to coin. Because if they can ask Vikramaditya during his time, in the literature, what books he has written, they can ask anything. I mean, these are the exercises, these are the pointers, these are telling you what is important and what is not. And the content section is telling you that I have written the book in this serial order. You expect this there. You combine it with this and then try to know what might he have said using those terms in that topic. What prevents you from indulging in decision making? That churning in your mind. Okay? You do. You made such notes, and then if you think you have to write while you are reading the chapter on non-violence. I used to always write few of the anarchist thinker. Even they have talked about non-violence. Some have talked about violence. In anarchism, they do not want anyone to govern them. They will govern themselves by more peace and harmony. So you have to somehow, with Gandhi's pessimism, with Leo Tolstoy, of all that little you know under the sun, you have to try to link it. Okay, you have to mention it, that you can use it there, and then you have to also mention the page number. That you will get only by you looking at that and this. And when you come across a point, get that book from your option or from the other subject. Try to see that index paper. Try to see that book's contents, and try to see that particular section or chapter. That's how you integrate. And then you take that and write in your note sheet point number 1. You think before you write. You are not reproducing lines. If you are reproducing lines, why would you reproduce? Just highlight it. You will be as fast. Fine? So you have to write point number 1 in your language. The Indian kings lost to the Mongols or the Central Asian kings because of following reasons. Because you have read that chapter, you have read that page. And in that page, what I used to do, I used to always write that word which will mean that paragraph. If you have not found a word which will mean that paragraph, you have not read it. There will be a keyword. You have to always search for that, and the keywords you get here. And that's how you use in answers. In answer you use 100 words that doesn't convey meaning. How will you write good answers? And how will you make good notes? Fine? So you have to write that. Now 1, 2, 3. Down and dusted. That's how you make notes. It should not be summary. If need be, you have to make it this way. You may differ. Because we are all different. You may differ. You may still want to make the notes you want it to appear like. But then the essential part is this. And then pros versus points I have covered. And then what? MCQs how to solve. And then memorizing. Are you famished? Shall I end? Interval. Interview is also remaining. Memory. Revision is the mother of memory, they say, right? One is that. Reading many times gives you good memory. There are a lot of memory tricks. If you ever happen to see internet, look out for these few determinants. Anthony Robbins, also known as Tony Robbins, and Tony Buzan. They have done a lot of work on memory, on notes, and on how to remember, how to read fast. How to read fast, again, is an issue. People read word by word, right? Try to read it like this in zigzag manner. Or sometimes read like this, larger zigzags. Or sometimes read first word, last word, first word, last word, first word, last word. Or sometimes read only in the center. Or sometimes read only in this diagonal order. Read only the words coming through this diagonal, this thing. Or sometimes read this word, this word, this word, this word. Or sometimes read only the first word and the last word. Try to play with the book. You will make some sense of it. Fast reading is that way. You read as fast as you can, talk. Most of you. Experiment it. And I told, right, you have lateral vision. We ignore it. That is fast reading. They talk about that also. They talk about memory tactics. What are the memory tactics? Memory tactics are this way. Pegging. Article 14, 15, 16 onwards to its fundamental duties. You have to remember them because those are very important. How will you remember the exact article and the exact essence of that article? You have to peg to something which you already know. What's your name? Sharanappa. You won't mind me, right? Sharanappa. How will I remember his name? Sharana Basveshwara, I come from Gulbarga. There I have seen Sharana Basveshwara. There on that temple, Sharanappa is sitting on the peak. And he is cutting lemon. You associated Sharanappa with something very foolish. I will never forget his name and his face. That's called pegging. To something which you already know, something which you already are disposed to or know about. And then there is this concept of having an alternate structure. Roman Sani has given a lecture on that, on note making and memory, all those things. And one sun, something like that, two shoe. So you have your own thing. I had my own thing actually. After seeing that, I had my own this thing. I made that list and then tried to peg it with something structured for remembering lists. Okay. Revising, using such tactics and focusing, and by such sorts you will remember more. And more than that, you should have belief that you will remember more. We will laugh till the day we realize it. Okay? Fine. Now, when you saw the MCQs, some of the MCQs are a page long, hai na? You have seen the MCQ prelims question paper. Sometimes a single question is 1 page long. Big question, big optionals. Which question will you attend first? That small one-line question with small words like answer, or this fat long one? So, linear memory has taught us that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 till 99 and 100. We go that way. and tell we come till question number 90 and the examiner takes away your answer sheet, will tell last 10 questions only 8 questions barte tu. You tell. Who is to blame? You yourself. No one prevents you from say even before you solve, going through the paper and telling that you mark somewhere that this is to be attended in the last half or last quarter of the exam. Good. Last quarter of the exam. So you have to read the question paper multiple times. Multiple times you have to read and see which are the questions that are shorter, that are easier. Solve them in round 1. Of them you will know many and you will not know few. First solve them and then go 3-4 times. At least you will not have this guilt that I knew this question but I didn't solve. Isn't it? Even if you have to leave such long 2 questions and exchange it for 5 more questions. Good bargain, right? Good bargain, right? You have to do that first. That is first trick. And no, in coming years MCQs, if they have given equal marks to each question, that where will you get? You get in that first sheet instructions they have written. Spending a minute or 2 there and knowing that some questions they have given 5 marks, maybe some fine day it may happen, right? And if it happens and if it's your bad luck, will you excuse yourself? Always see that instruction part also. You might have changed, right? Be open to whispers. That is one thing in note making. You have to first go through, and then while you have seen the question, when you are tackling a question, you go by bits. Your attention span is 1. So while you are solving, let your mind be open, completely focus. All the books that you have read, the universe should spread across you, and then try to understand the essence of that statement. The essence of that statement. Okay? And in sometimes what happens is, this is not an iron rule by the way. And those of you, how many of you have written science? That's just a big word. Many times it goes correct. I'll tell you when to use. And then there is this big option. And then remaining small options. All the options are big and one is small, or sometimes one option is big and others are small. Odds are high that something looks fishy. And when you do not know anything, I was very shameless in taking such answers. In taking the big answers when other options are small. I did that also in my practice, and I found that I am gaining by it. This I got to know during my practice, and you will have to know what works in a particular way in the areas in which you have some information and not much, but yet you have to take a call. During your practice, experiment everything, right? Experiment everything. Let your mind flow. Attempt all the questions and see how it works, right? And you have to know another trips for the questions is that you have to know how many questions you have to attempt, and that you do not have to ask. I will not ask you how many questions I have to attempt. Will I? You will ask. How will you know? By practicing. Mark the answer with different color. Know how when you are getting maximum marks, when you are taking more risk or less risk, or when you are attempting all the questions, you will get to know. It's easy, right? Common sense. That's again another trick. Because before exam, you are forced to solve particular number of questions because previous cut off for this much, these many people applied, these many people have attended this many questions, you have to attend this question and that this is the iron number, and sometimes you know much but you write only that much and count. Do not be fooled. That's again a trick. Then, when you see the question paper, when you see the question, imply the comprehension. I was talking about comprehension, I was talking about how to read, right? You have to apply even here. In some options, there are these critical words used. Observe what comes before it and observe what comes after it. Sometimes they are very sinister. In giving, it's implying that it looks like the answer of that question, but then there is this but if because. Be careful about that also. Be careful about that also. And also be careful about only, about all, about none. Which are wrong statements they ask, and then you tick which is correct. And the first statement was correct, oh I found it. Tick one and move forward. Doesn't happen that way. Getting my point? So you have to go through all such questions in the last only. Especially highlight them. Because if you miss an answer on a question in which you knew things and you miss purely because it is all on that this shabby nonsense, you will not be able to forgive yourself. One question, the effective penalty is 2.6 marks. 6 marks. That's sufficient to put you out of the race. You know how many people fall in that 99%? I mean, there is this cutoff, right? And there is this bandwidth of cutoff. If say cutoff is 100, this 95 to 105, how many people fall? Any idea? Nearly 80%. In that small bandwidth. Almost all of them fall in that 10-15 marks bandwidth. There will be some exceptions. There will be some exceptions. But most of them fall in that bandwidth. And the room for maneuver is very little. I and you attempted the same number of questions were true. You clear, I don't clear. And then I will be tensed. We solved the same number of questions. We checked it from the same test answer key, but he cleared it. You will get to come across that feeling of tense. So you should always cross this threshold well beyond the margin for you to be peaceful. Mains ge preparation ಮಾಡಬೇಕಂತ ನಿಮಗೆ ಇಷ್ಟ ಇದ್ದಿದ್ರೆ ಸಾಕಷ್ಟು ಈ ಬ್ಯಾಂಡ್ವಿಡ್ತ್ ಇರಬೇಕು. You have to have a sufficient bandwidth. Okay? Now, having told this, and having told this small little things that you have to observe, right? While you answer, when you have solved a lot of papers, you will develop this intuitive ability. You will develop a pool of questions you have already gone across, and then there will be this gut feeling. So then once you have solved by gut feeling a question which you thought was correct, then you revisit. Then you have another gut feeling. Such a difficult way, right? So in such questions, you have to put all your energies. And once you have taken a decision by your gut, try testing it in your answers. That you took a decision by gut, take it with a particular kind of pen, and then change the decision. Forcefully, in your preparation only, change the gut decision. Give logical reasons for that. Answer all those questions alternatively. Give another gut feeling to it and see. The consequence will be, for me, it was my first gut feelings gave me higher marks. For me, you trust for yourself because you have common sense. So this is all tips and tricks. Then I'll talk of interview. I actually took. That's why I was asking a lot of questions because I would have integrated that way and answered. My interview, they had asked me all the. They had asked me all the questions relating to situational and general understanding based questions. Nothing related to DAF, nothing related to hobbies, nothing related to graduation, nothing related to my state, nothing related to my interests, nothing related to current affairs, nothing related to my optional, nothing related to what? They didn't ask me anything from there. They asked me situational questions, 7 situational questions, back to back. And they asked me some of the general questions. The chairman of the board, Arvind Saxena ji, he asked that equality is good. He started, in interviews, they use big statements. How many of you are preparing for interview? No one. I was told a couple of them. All of you can do. Believe that you can do.